are 10 times Spider-Man embarrassed other superheroes. Spidey is known for his little quips, and no one is safe from them. The Peter Parker of Earth 19,529, or the Spider-Man life story world roasted Mr. Fantastic like he has never been roasted before. After finding out that Mr. Fantastic is withholding life-changing information from the public, again, Peter goes off on the guy. I mean, Mr. Fantastic is also talking like he is God and superpowered people are better than your average human, which Peter doesn't really appreciate. Peter says, "You're so not human that even your wife left you for a man who lives under the sea," because this is the world, of course, where Susan Storm left him for Namor. Yeah, Peter was slapped for that one, but he figured that it was the least he could do after burning the guy that bad. But the rest of the team isn't safe from being served some Spider-Man embarrassment either. In the early days of Marvel Comics, Spider-Man was looking for a team to join because he was looking for a salary. So he tried to make the Fantastic Four the Fantastic Five. Only when he leaped into the F4 headquarters, he ended up in a glass cage that he immediately broke out of despite costing the F4 thousands of dollars. He smacked the thing clear across the room, taking the Human Torch out with him, trapped Mr. Fantastic in a web, and Mrs. Fantastic was spun around until she was dizzy. All in all, he gave the team quite a run for their money. Spider-Man in the Ultimate Universe was the highlight of that show, and Ultimate Spider-Man 67, the story where he gets body swapped with Wolverine, is just so funny. Not the stuff with Mary Jane, of course. I'm mainly referring to the banter between the unlikely pair. Turns out, Jean Grey had swapped the two as punishment to Logan because he thought being in Peter's body would be the worst thing to ever happen, and it was for the both of them. Wolverine, with his rough approach to life, nearly ruined Peter's relationships with almost everyone, but Peter also caused some trouble getting the guy arrested and of course making quite a few jokes at his expense, including calling Wolverine's body a chia pet and smelly. Many times, stinky dog body were his exact words. Then in a battle later, as Peter is quipping away in Logan's body, the man stops him because Peter is making him look bad. Since the X-Men caused Peter so much grief when he is swapped back, he kinda goes off on them, resulting in the iconic panel in which Spider-Man tells the team why people really hate them and then proceeds to use such colorful language it's not even written out on the page before swinging away. The X-Men decided to send Peter a basket of something as an apology. But that's not the only time Peter has embarrassed the X-Men. Towards the start of the team's journey, Spider-Man received a personal invitation to join the team in X-Men 27. Professor X himself requested that Beast and Iceman ask Peter, but he turned them down. He said it was because he had already turned down the Avengers, and I guess it wouldn't look good to turn them down and then accept another offer so soon after. Spider-Man also did it because he believed fate meant for him to be a loner. He really was an angsty teen. He literally swung away and left the two X-Men just standing there, wondering how he could turn away such an amazing offer. There was also the moment in the original Secret Wars series where Spider-Man meets the X-Men again, but on very different terms. He literally bursts onto the scene and takes the team out all while jumping and backflipping out of reach. He makes it look easy. Wolverine literally says Spider-Man made them look like fools and amateurs. Spider-Man got the chance to fight the Hulk in Amazing Spider-Man 328. In that issue, Hulk remarks that Spidey was a lot stronger than he remembered, and despite the strength the Hulk is working with, Spider-Man still comes out on top. Hulk might have had to escape because the sun was coming up, and at this point he could only come out at night, but that is so beside the point. A later fight between the two heroes in Spider-Man Unlimited 11, that happened on the news, and it was cool because we watched it in the comic as if we were sitting in our local restaurant. The broadcast shows a tough fight. Hulk looks like he is winning at one point. Patrons start placing bets, but then Spidey kicks the Hulk into a wall and a cement truck falls on him. Of course, throughout the whole fight, Spider-Man is also throwing out little jokes and jabs. So not only was the Hulk defeated and had a cement truck dropped on him on national TV, he also had a sarcastic commentary going too. There were a few other times when the heroes brawled, but some of them had outside factors that made the fight unfair, like tranquilizer gas for the Hulk. Peter has told MJ that he thinks he can kill the Hulk, but Peter has a no-kill rule. One thing about Spider-Man and Daredevil, they are going to throw a few punches. These two are operating in the same, admittedly large city, but still every once in a while they cross paths in ways that result in them fighting each other instead of working together. Even times when they are supposed to be working together, the plans don't always go so well. Take Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man 110 for example. The two heroes are rushing to save a victim from the Sin Eater, but after the villain is lays down, pretty soon Daredevil and Spider-Man have turned on each other. Peter had an emotional stake in this particular fight, so he was operating out of a place of anger, meaning he was being a bit too rough with this particular villain, and Daredevil stepped in. Very heroic of him. He tried to talk Spider-Man down, but that just got him thrown out a window by Peter and then chased through the streets. Daredevil even says that if Peter were more in his right mind, he'd be finished. Then there was also the Amazing Spider-Man 287, in which Peter and Matt were in a cab together, and of course, they started arguing, eventually tumbling out of that cab to brawl on the sidewalk. Peter almost won that fight if it weren't for the fact that they were in their civilian identities, so to the world, Matt is just a blind man that Peter is beating up on the sidewalk. Not a good look. Peter was physically removed by the cab driver. Those two were either the greatest team to hit New York or at each other's throats, no in between. Not even heroes from different universes are safe from the wrath of Spider-Man. Superboy, the one from DC. Yes, he went toe-to-toe with the web-slinger and did not come out victorious. This one is controversial because there was a bit of a God in the Machine happening here. For this face-off, it was part of a voting thing. DC and Marvel characters were up against each other, and then fans could vote about who would win the fight, and in this instance, Spider-Man won that vote, which is embarrassing on its own, but then there's also how he won the battle in the comic. It was a good time. Spidey held his own against Superboy. At one point, a water tower gets busted and floods where the two heroes are fighting. Superboy moves to attack Spider-Man, but instead he gets webbed and crashes into a high voltage box, and you can imagine how that went inside the water. The fight was over and Superboy was cooked. Spider-Man really embarrassed all the Spider people and things in Into the Spider-Verse when he was able to outrun all of them. Miles Morales has proven himself to be a force to be reckoned with over the past few movies, and in the comics too, of course, but this ain't about that. There is no reason for Miles to be able to not just outrun, but also outwit thousands of Spider variants from across the universe, other than he's just that special and different and cool. I imagine the sting from that was hard to nurse, and I can't wait to see how the Spider Society moves forward when they finally release the second half, hopefully. Iron Man might be a father figure to Peter in the MCU, but that story is very different in the comics. I mean, it kind of depends on who is writing, but whoever did Amazing Spider-Man 536, Volume 413, or Spider-Man Annual 20 certainly wanted to see those two tussle. The Spider-Man and Iron Man of the MCU are so tame in comparison to the comic versions of themselves. MCU Tony would give Peter a jukebox and play catch in the backyard. Comic Tony has tried throwing Peter across Manhattan. MCU Tony left Peter Edith. Comic Tony roasted Peter's company to the point of Spider-Man punching him across the face and the resulting brawl being live streamed across New York. Tony tends to forget that he is but a man in a metal suit. A powerful metal suit, but a man at the end of the day. And sometimes he needs a little reminder every once in a while. Spider-Man has given him that reminder quite a few times. ASM 536 Iron Man is after Spidey because Peter is against the Superhuman Registration Act. Peter wins the fight, he overrides Iron Man's armor, and then webs him in the face for good measure. ASM 13 featured the fight after Tony insulted Peter's company to his face. In his defense, he didn't know Peter was Spider-Man, and he was saying all that stuff to Spider-Man, not Peter, but still getting clocked in front of all your friends, fans, and the internet at large, that's embarrassing. Amazing Spider-Man Annual 20 features a bunch of, Tony time travel, but the important thing to this video is that Spider-Man gets really mad at Iron Man and throws him into a construction site and then attacks him until Tony is saved by time shifting back to his reality. Rough. Captain America and Spider-Man are an unlikely sparring pair, but when they do go toe-to-toe, it's always a fun read. Cap even once admitted that he wasn't as strong as Spider-Man. But the truly embarrassing Captain Spider-Man moment happened in an alleyway. Peter at this point is wanted by the FBI, and Cap is trying to reason with him, but Peter is having a rough go of it. Cap ends up getting punched in the face. He's holding back his feelings about all of this a bit, I think, because he can tell that Peter is just acting out because he's going through it. Cap takes his shield to block another punch, but Peter grabs that shield and smashes it in the Captain's face. I think I would quit if someone defeated me with my own indestructible superhero symbol. To top it off, Peter escaped, adding some salt to the wound.
Number 10. The Human Torch. Johnny Storm and Peter Parker have been very close friends for a long time. And in comic books, where there is friendship, there is competitive rivalry. In the first video, I talked about the time the Fantastic Four first met Spider-Man, and the way he embarrassed every single one of them. Well, now I want to talk about something a little sillier. In the Spider-Man/Human Torch I'm With Stupid miniseries, Johnny Storm hires Peter Parker to get really good pictures of him since he just became a hero and he wanted some good publicity. Yes, really. Wanting some pictures of Johnny against a villain, he goes to Dr. Doom's lair and gets himself encased in a block of ice. Yes, really, again. Spider-Man saves him and swings him away and makes web ice picks to start getting Johnny out of his popsicle form. But after Johnny struggles a little bit too much, Peter accidentally chips away the part of ice holding Johnny's beloved golden hair, leaving him bald and crying for Reed Richards to fix the problem. Yes, really, for a third time. Number 9, Ghost Rider. Say what you want about Spider-Man, but he is a hero, through and through. And sometimes he needs to remind others how to be that. In Spider-Man number 7 in 1990, Spider-Man and Ghost Rider are working together to defeat Hobgoblin. A kid named Adam gets grabbed by Hobgoblin, causing Spider-Man to look for a less direct approach. But not Ghost Rider. He barrels straight into Hobgoblin on his motorcycle, hitting Adam as well. Spider-Man gets to Adam before he crashes right into a wall. As Ghost Rider gets his hands on the unconscious Hobgoblin and is about to do his penance stare on him, Spider-Man interrupts him, saving Hobgoblin and giving Ghost Rider an earful about what it means to be a hero, sending him walking away in shame. Number 8, Doctor Strange. If you've seen Spider-Man No Way Home, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't yet, allow me to explain or skip to the next point if you don't want spoilers, but I promise you, I'll keep it light. Okay, so basically a whole whack of stuff takes place and Doctor Strange and Spider-Man end up fighting over an artifact. During the scuffle, Doctor Strange brings him and Peter to the mirror dimension, where things just go, well, kind of spirally and just insane. It's actually a really fun scene to watch, but basically, Peter realizes the mirror dimension is based on geometry, and he's great at geometry. And utilizing the absolutely amazing power of math, he strings up Doctor Strange, takes the artifact and Strange's sling ring, and leaves him webbed up and stuck in the mirror dimension. Hey you, I just wanted to briefly stop you here, just to say, thanks. Thanks for being you. And thanks for liking and commenting and subscribing. I love reading your comments, even the mean ones. You should check us out on Facebook too if you wanna. Alright, moving on. Number 7, Luke Cage. Alright, we covered Luke Cage getting his butt handed to him the first time around, but I found a hilarious and much more subtle embarrassment dished out by Spidey. In New Avengers Volume 1, number 51, after Spider-Man revealed his identity to the Avengers, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage's wife, recognizes him because they went to high school together, and she had the biggest crush on Peter. Now, fast forward to issue number 53, Spider-Man and the New Avengers are floating in their Quinjet above New Orleans, looking for a place to land, when Spider-Man starts talking to Luke Cage about his wife apparently being in love with Spider-Man in high school, which he had no idea about. And while she's cute and all that, he believes in the statutes of marriage and the institutions, so Luke has nothing to worry about from him. But if him and Iron Fist broke up, then he'd like to get in on that action, you know? Luke just wants out as he calls Clint to land the damn plane already. Number 6, Firelord. Okay, look, he's not a hero. Well, he's hardly an anti-hero. In fact, he's kind of an anti-villain, but Firelord, the former Herald of Galactus and eventual member of the Nova Corps, came to Earth wanting to partake in all the great stuff we got going on here, only to be attacked by firefighters and eventually Spider-Man himself. And now, he wants revenge for the embarrassment. Look, he's not from here, okay? Just because he has different ideas of what's fair doesn't mean that he's evil, right? After Spidey leads the spicy Firelord on a chase all around New York, he decides to engage him hand to hand, and boy does he go off, dodging every swing against him with his spider sense and landing countless blows on the alien, leaving him unconscious when the Avengers show up to pull Spider-Man off of him. Number 5, Phoenix, Colossus, and Magic. A duo? And this duo? I know, It's crazy. In Avengers vs. X-Men number 9, a group of 5 X-Men were granted quite the power boost in the form of the Phoenix Force. The mutant siblings Colossus and Magic were 2 of these X-Men. Now, Spider-Man is physically no match for either one of these guys, not with the Phoenix Force. But Spider-Man isn't one to let something like that stop him. Even when beaten to a pulp, he still has that charming personality and beautiful brain. When one of the avatars for the Phoenix Force is defeated, the power of the remaining 4 gets boosted even more, and it's just these 2 left. And Spider-Man gives them a little innocent reminder of that fact. Now, we don't get to see the fight that takes place between the 2. Instead, we get to see the unconscious bodies of both of them, with Spider-Man still barely standing to let everyone know he got them to knock each other out. Number 4, Tony Stark and Reed Richards. I love when Spider-Man gets to show how smart he actually is. In Big Time, The Amazing Spider-Man, the new Sinister Six has activated big boomies all over New York, and the Avengers are struggling with how to disarm and deactivate them in the 2 minutes and 28 seconds they have left. Reed Richards and Tony Stark, 2 of the smartest men on the whole planet, were going over options on how to disarm the thing. Freeze the thermal assembly? Nope. Use a sliver of vibranium? That won't do it. Spider-Man's got it. After taking a look at the clock, Peter runs over to the computer running the device and begins to sync up the timer with the system clock. Now, why the heck would he do that? Well, you see, it was the first Sunday in November, which means daylight savings time. Which means Peter just bought them an extra hour to get rid of the devices. Nice move, kid. Number 3, Clint Barton as Ronin. During Dark Reign, the Avengers were more of a covert rogue team. Their leaders were lost in civil war. Secret Invasion had put everyone against everyone, unsure of who was a Skrull and who wasn't, and now Norman Osborn was in charge of everything. The new Avengers know they've got to find some way of getting Norman. Clint Barton, who was Ronin at the time, tried a media smear campaign and it didn't really go too well. So now, he just wants him gone, and he suggests just that in New Avengers issue 55. Spider-Man word slaps the gathered Avengers into their senses. Peter steps out right in the face of the idea of delifing anyone. Am I the only one here who wants to, act heroic in the face of adversity? He goes on to say that now that they don't have their Tony Stark money or Avengers Mansion and butlers, that Ronin is cracking up under the weight of the real world. Yeah, tell him, Spidey. Yeah. Number 2, Nova. Look, comics back in the day weren't always written the best, okay? In Nova number 12, Richard Rider is trying to find the criminal who de-lifed his uncle, Ralph Rider, and he flies past Spider-Man doing battle with the criminal. Now, Nova has seen Spider-Man in the papers with wanted signs and articles saying that he's a crook. And if he's here, then Nova has gotta at least make sure he had nothing to do with Richard's uncle, right? Look, he was distraught, okay? This little scuffle doesn't really go Nova's way though. After he lands a kind of cheap shot on Spider-Man, he catches some webs to the visor, then a fist, and after he lifts Spidey into the air, he catches a nice pair of Spidey boots to the dome as well. And as with most embarrassing fights, Spidey is giving him an earful about the error of his ways in the most hilarious way possible. Number 1, the Avengers. This isn't so embarrassing in the direct sense. You see, when all the Avengers and the Fantastic Four were off in a pocket universe fighting the villain Onslaught, New York lost its main defenders. Spider-Man, by himself, stepped into the role of the Avengers. One guy filled the role of a whole team, defending New York from all supercrime, and keeping the people of New York in remembrance of the seemingly gone superheroes. You know what? It's just what Spider-Man would do. He would step up when things look their bleakest and take the heavy weight of being solely responsible for defending the world. Now, yes, this was the clone of Peter Parker, Ben Reilly, but he holds the same morals and powers. And the man took on an invasion of Sentinels, so yeah, he is taking this one. There were other non-active Avengers on the Earth still, and while they were considering coming back as a team, Spider-Man just did it. Way to go, Tiger. Number 10. Peter Parker. Hey, we didn't say which Spider-Man was doing the embarrassing here. Peter Parker and Miles Morales met for the first time when Peter was teleported to Miles' universe. Now, I don't know why Peter's first decision was to attack Mr. Morales. He's had clones of himself before, and he's also been to other alternate universes, but hey, that's what he did. And it was 110% a mistake. As fans of Miles know, he is extremely capable. And he also has a unique Spider-Man power set. He used his Venom sting to paralyze Peter while jumping over him. He then went invisible and got Peter with a sneak attack kick to the face. It doesn't stop there though. After Peter demasked Miles, he got a nice electric shock that knocked him out cold. For an 11-year-old kid, Miles gave the experienced Peter Parker quite the beating. Number 9. Winter Soldier and Falcon. For a young lad, Peter Parker seems to overpower a lot of people. In his introduction to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Peter just shows us and two of Captain America's best pals that he ain't someone to mess with. During their fight, he overpowered the super soldier, even using his metal arms against him, disables and webs up Falcon, and redirects a huge chunk of metal flung at him by the Winter Soldier, all while quipping in the best ways possible. It was honestly so awesome to see when it first happened. He leaves them laying on the ground exhausted and webbed up. Not only an embarrassment for the two veteran soldiers and heroes, but a really fitting and hilarious introduction for the character to the MCU. Number 8. Luke Cage. A lot of the time, when a new hero is introduced into a comic book world, a fight between the misunderstood hero and another has to take place. That is exactly what happened when Luke Cage came on the scene. Luke Cage, the hero for hire, showed up in the Amazing Spider-Man number 123, hired by J. Jonah Jameson to capture Spider-Man for the death of Norman Osborn. Luke Cage ain't a guy you should underestimate by any means. Super strength and stamina, bulletproof skin, and a healing factor. But it's Spider-Man. Luke tackles Spider-Man off a roof and gets a few punches in. But Spider-Man kicked him off of another roof, teased him about basically being a mercenary, slammed him through a brick wall, got several fists to the face in, used Luke's own weight against him, and punched him through a skylight. They come to blows later on in the comic with pretty much the same outcome, causing Luke Cage to quit this one particular job. Go Web! Fly! Up, up, and away, Web! Shazam! Go, Web, go! 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 Go, Web, go! Oh wait, that's not my power. No, my power is to make YouTube videos for you guys. Do you know what gives me this power? You liking and subscribing to the channel. And you are doing an absolutely stunning job. Keep it up. And don't forget to check out our Facebook for more content. Number 7. The Hulk. In terms of raw power, Spider-Man stands absolutely no chance against the Hulk. I think his spider sense may give him some kind of advantage, but there is no way he is lasting long in that fight. Unless he gets a power boost in the form of, I don't know, the power cosmic. Oh, that's exactly what happened in the Amazing Spider-Man issue number 328. The Grey Hulk, who yes is a bit weaker and logical compared to his Savage counterpart, is hired by Sebastian Shaw to target Spider-Man. Money is always a good motivator. Unfortunately for Hulk, Spider-Man has been going to the cosmic gym and hitting the cosmic weights. He lands some pretty heavy blows on the Grey Goliath and even blinds him with a new I-beam power. When some kids are put in danger though, Spider-Man ends the conflict quick by punching the Hulk into orbit and then saving him before he suffocates, standing all confident with his hands on his hips and like that. Number 6. The Fantastic Four. In the very first issue of his self-titled magazine, Spider-Man is putting other heroes to shame. Spider-Man infiltrates the Baxter building, where he is encased in a plexiglass cage that he very easily opens the door to. He takes a single punch from the thing before he throws him into Johnny Storm. When Reed tries to catch Peter, he totally just dodges it and webs up Mr. Fantastic's hands. He uses his spider sense to detect Sue Storm while she's invisible and spins her around really fast with her lasso. But then, Johnny Storm gets him in a circle of flame. He says, and I quote, "Well, I'll just jump over that clown's little trap." It's honestly a pretty impressive display, and it happened in no less than 1.5 pages. The fight ends when Spider-Man lets him know that he's here to join up, and with that little fight was just a display of what he can do. Yeah, that little display would probably do better than a resume. Number 5. Iron Man. In the Civil War storyline, we know that Spider-Man initially is on the side of Tony Stark's Iron Man, but after he sees the lengths that Tony is willing to go to, he has a bit of a change of heart. Obviously, this leads to a scuffle between the two. At this time, Tony had given Peter the Iron Spider suit. What he didn't tell Peter is that he built in an emergency override that would shut down the suit and essentially shut down Peter with the simple phrase Omega Omega Epsilon 9. It's only a bit of a jerk move. You took Peter under your wing, but you're going to plant a failsafe against him? It kinda makes it look like you know you're guilty. But then again, he is a genius, he is a member of the Illuminati, and he is not the kind of guy to take risks. But how is this embarrassing for Tony? Well, I'm glad you asked, my little nerds. Peter is no idiot, and behind Stark's back, he hacked into the suit and built in his own override to override the override that Tony put there. Passcode, surprise. And the suit is back up and running and covers Tony's helmet in a thick layer of web, allowing Peter to get in a good punch and escape. Number 4, Wolverine. This one's a pretty quick one. I bet some of you thought I was gonna pull from the Wolverine vs. Spider-Man comic. I'll do you one better. It should be obvious, but you don't dare insult Mary Jane Watson to Peter's face. In Amazing Spider-Man issue 522, Peter is awoken with a call about a newspaper article claiming Mary Jane has a little entanglement with Tony Stark. It's obviously not true and actually a setup by a villain. But that's not the point right now. Peter got out of his bed in Stark Tower and goes looking for his wife. Along the way, he runs into Wolverine in a room with a very lovely high-up view of the city. Now, Logan decides to start going on about how Mary Jane messed up big time, and after a warning from Peter, he decides to comment on her lack of brains. This lovely little comment gets him thrown through an unbreakable glass window, and it gives him a really colorful way to catch a cab. Number 3. Daredevil. When Spider-Man was in possession of the symbiote suit, he wasn't his normal self. He was much more ruthless. And Spider-Man can already knock criminals into a coma when he is pulling his punches. When Spider-Man interrupts Sin Eater Stanley Carter from attacking Betty Brant and almost killing her, he starts to lay into the guy, beating Stanley while giving him an earful. Peter goes so far that Daredevil notices his heartbeat pounding and pulls him off of the beaten villain. He defends the criminal from Peter, who is seemingly gonna kill him. If you want him, you'll have to come through me. Probably not the best choice of words there, Daredevil. The very next panel shows Daredevil flying through a window. If it wasn't such a serious moment, I would laugh. Nah, I did laugh. Is that wrong? I can't help it, I'm sorry. Number 2, the X-Men. It seems that Spider-Man really shows his skill when he comes into contact with teams of heroes. First the Fantastic Four, and in the 4th issue of Secret Wars, the X-Men. As if dealing with multiple superpowered beings was his speciality or something. I think the best part about these altercations is the way he just keeps talking while he's embarrassing them. After Xavier senses Spider-Man listening in on their conversation, Spider-Man attacks the X-Men a little prematurely, I'll admit. He dodges Wolverine, webs Colossus' face, dangles Rogue from a rod, webs up Nightcrawler faster than he can say BAMF, and swats Wolverine away with a single swing and escapes. It's just so crazy to me how he knows that he easily outclasses almost every one of the X-Men. Or if not, he knows exactly how to subdue them. Number 1. Superboy. If we're doing a video about characters embarrassing other heroes, there's almost always going to be one point that has to do with the DC and Marvel crossover event. Just like the first point, this isn't actually Peter Parker though, but it's a clone of him, so that's basically the same thing. When the DC Marvel crossover happened, Ben Reilly had taken up the Spider-Man mantle. And it was him that fought Superboy on a rooftop. To get things going, Spider-Man hits the Superboy with a webbing right to his very stylish sunglasses. Superboy, just trying to get a hit on our Spider friend, busts a hole into a water tower, drenching the entire battlefield. Spider-Man wouldn't stand too long in a one-on-one slugging match with this guy, but that's not his specialty anyways. Just as Superboy is about to land a flying blow into Spidey, he jumps out of the way, firing webbing all over the guy and leaving the soaking wet Superboy to fly straight into an electrical box, taking him right out of the fight.